now. Every morning, 10 times, not just now and then. Give that chicken fat back to the chicken, and don't be chicken again. No, don't be chicken again. Push up every morning, 10 times push up, starting low. Once more on the rise, nuts to the flatting eyes. No, you chicken fat, go away. No, you chicken fat, go.
Chicken fat. Woohoo! That was a song we did in gym class way back when you had gym class where you did exercise. Chicken fat. So this belly fat is going to be the topic of the video today. Today is January the 16th, 2026. Dr. Dina on belly fat, an ancient survival mechanism. So if belly fat were simply about calories, it wouldn't appear most when we're stressed, when we're sleep deprived, or when we're overworked. And that's exactly when it shows up. That's because belly fat isn't just stubborn, it's protective. And we'll talk a little bit about how it's an archive of human survival. The details of this article, the details of this video I'll put in an article that I'll attach to the video. So some of the things, hacks and tricks that I'll talk about will be in a video attached to this, in an article attached to this video. So for thousands of years, a soft abdomen was a badge of endurance, right? Energy stored during famine, protective during illness, resiliency during prolonged stress. So it's not belly fat as an excess or a failure, it's actually protective. My grandmother used to say, put a few pounds on you because in case you get sick, you got to have some reserve. And nature knows that too, right? Nature knows best. So glucose is for emergencies, but belly fat is for endurance. Now, I did a video on this about this vibration plate a few months ago, and I was mortified to see my belly fat, to see my fat jiggling. And so it put me on a mission, I guess, to understand why that is. So I had 2 children who are now in, almost 30, and I gained 40 pounds with each of the kids and just some exercise. And, I was right back to a healthy self. I always ate healthy and try to eat organic when I can, so I'm not ingesting a lot of toxins that's going to withhold fat. I exercise regularly, even more so lately, and Pilates and yoga and walking, and so I was really mortified and didn't understand, right, why I'm growing this little belly until I found this video in this article, and which I'll tell you about in just a second. The other thing I'll just mention in case I forget later on, blue light makes you fat. So I do have blue light blocking glasses because I am spending more time on the computer, and that affects carbohydrate metabolism. Also, ghrelin and leptin, 2 hormones that really trigger hunger and also metabolism. So the blue light, but I took that I took that factor out of the picture. So I'm exercising, eating healthy, reducing the blue light. But the one thing that I wasn't addressing was the stress. So cortisol, being the primary stress hormone, right, signals the body to release glucose for immediate fuel. And glucose is fast, but it's unstable over time. So there's more receptors in our belly, and fat, by contrast, is dense and stable. So for long-lasting, easily converted energy, you can use glucose for short term, but for a longer term, our body stores it in our belly as fat. So again, just to summarize, when stress is short, glucose is used first, and then when stress is prolonged, the body stores energy in the belly close to the vital organs. Why would that be? well, it's the safest place, right? If a tiger's going to bite you, probably get your arm first before he'll bite your belly. It's the safest place, but it also, the fat protects the organs, right? Thermal protection, heat and cold, shock absorbing quality. So again, the body's really smart. It stores the fat in the safest place, which is the belly. So our whole COVID belly phenomena wasn't just weight gain, wasn't being bored and eating more potato chips or stressed. It was actually stress, but stress biology in action. And men and women store fat differently. So this video is speaking more to women, especially menopausal women, because we're a different breed. And I'll explain that in just a second. But because of their survival priorities, we've evolved differently, men and women. So men tend to store energy and muscle, and they're ready for action. So to fight, to escape, to stab the tiger, or to challenge the chief medical officer for injecting your kids and your wife with toxic material that killed more people than 3 world wars combined. You know, men are given that energy so they can stand up and protect the cave. And testosterone and muscle mass actually buffer stress. It buffers that cortisol response. So men can tolerate fasting and higher intensity exercise with less metabolic disruption. Unlike women, our fat is stored in the belly. Why do you think that is? Particular to women, protect the organs, the reproductive organs, because our evolutionary, intent really as women is production, is propagation of the species and protecting our next generation. So in times of stress, again, the wisdom of the universe, the cortisol suppresses progesterone, and the belly fat produces estrogen. So it kind of safeguards against fertility, right? In times of stress, you don't want to have a baby. You don't want to be carrying a baby. So for women, the caloric restriction or over-exercising and the chronic stress often backfires. So this is why, for me, right, normally I would fast for 2 or 3 days, poof, all my health problems, my weight would be balanced, I'd be back good as new. But the stress response is different. So men lose fat by pushing through more exercise, more aggression, speaking out. Women lose fat by calming themselves. Now that's a hard thing for me, but I'm going to show you some things that I use. And I think as we're going through 2026, if you scroll down my page and see some of the posts that look like they're being shadow banned, you'll see that 2026 is going to be an eventful year, especially the month of April. So these are tips really to help us be safe and effective. To be safe and effective, to, tackle the challenges, and to know our biology helps understand our evolutionary intent, and we can be more effective women, postmenopausal women, when you're calming yourself. So we'll talk a little bit about that. And I just mentioned how the fasting is a double-edged sword, right? Great for men, but for women it actually increases the cortisol. So fasting can actually create weight gain. Who knew, right? The other important thing is that minerals are important. They're like the unsung regulators, because when the minerals are low, cortisol rises. And I've given you sodium, magnesium, potassium, and different foods in amounts that I think might be helpful for you. That I take is another way. It's another strategy, another tactic of helping release or reduce your cortisol, which is that stress hormone. So again, the body stores fat when it doesn't trust the quality of the food or the safety of the environment. So again, if you're eating foods with chemicals in it that are low in minerals, that don't have prana, as they call it in Ayurvedic medicine, food that's alive with vitamins and minerals and energy and enzymes. So the quality of the food is also a signal for stress. And I talk about in that article why gelatin in particular works better than collagen or weight loss medications for balancing weight and releasing belly fat. So gelatin Okay, so I I have this pack because most people know about gelatin. Any of the women probably do. Postmenopausal women. Knox gelatin is not grass fed and it's not organic. But if you go on Amazon or health food store, you'll get gelatin in a powder. But it's the same thing. It's just maybe a healthier version. I just ordered some myself. And I'll give you the recipe in that article called The Gelatin Trick that I found online. And I'm testing it, like I said, myself. So I don't know if it works. I'll let you know in a week, but I feel better already. So it's just been one day and it's made a difference. But gelatin is a powerhouse because of that unusual amino acid profile. Amino acids are the building blocks for protein. And it's rich in one of the amino acids called glycine, which supports the nervous system, helps calm the nervous system, stabilizes blood sugar, lowers that stress signaling response. So glycine also favors the GLP-1. I don't know if you've heard about that, but it's glucagon-like peptide 1 pathway over the GIP. And again, this is all in the article, the glucose-dependent insulin trophic peptide, big word. GIP is quick and easy. So what that means, it shifts your body, the glycine, which is in the gelatin, which is an amino acid, shifts your body from fat storage, belly, right, into fat utilization. It burns up the fat in the belly. It actually melts the fat in a way, right? It uses it up for energy. So it shifts your metabolism, the gelatin does. But again, only when the body feels safe. So, and I talk about the difference with collagen and also the medications, the expensive pharmaceutical medications that also manipulate appetite. They work on this same pathway. But many of the medications right now, including estrogen, sorry, I tell you, synthetic hormone, will affect you. You may get some immediate effects, but the side effects are often worse than what they're, what the major effect is. So I'm not a big fan of medications, never have been. I don't think I've taken a medication in about 30 years or so. Finding natural, safe, and effective truly is, the gelatin is one of them. And again, like I said, I put the recipe in there. Bone broth is another way you can get gelatin by boiling out the bones. So I buy bones, they're in my freezer, I should have bought it out, but beef bones. And there's recipes online for bone broth. That's another way you can get the gelatin right out of the bones and making bone broth. And again, I put that in the article too. So the key message here is that gelatin is more than just like a filling your stomach. It's not just like, satisfying your appetite, but it's changing the metabolic signal. So you move from fat storage to fat utilization. Brilliant, right? Brilliant concept. So belly fat resolves when the body, again, feels safe and relaxed and supported and predictable, which, again, our environment right now is nothing but that. So it's very important for all you women out there, especially postmenopausal women, to have some of these key things, and I'll talk about that in just a second. So just to summarize, belly fat's not a protection, it's protection, it's not a punishment. Stress stores fat, safety releases it, so finding ways that you can feel safe and calm. Gelatin and minerals calm what calories cannot. And again, men push, and it's helpful. Evolution has it that way, right? They're the fighters, they're Mars, they're protecting the cave. And women have to kind of be calm and protect the offspring. So this is, and both release fat when they feel safe, and they're working at their biological evolutionary intent. So again, core daily principles I give in that article, the gelatin, the minerals, the fasting, the movement, the sleep. Not saying that fasting is not appropriate for women at all, but knowing when, so overnight fasts, for example, and not stressing your body with it. So not 3 days like I normally would do, right? I'm down to kind of 12 to 15 hours and just overnight. So I eat supper that night, and then I try not to eat until like a later brunch, breakfast kind of the next day with protein and different things. So some of what we were told, much of what we've been told, right, in nutrition, and I'm not going to debate, carnivores and keto and vegetarian, and we're just talking about ways to kind of trick your metabolism into burning fat. But a lot of what we've been told is incorrect, and especially now as the environment is more stressful, we have to change our strategies in order to be more effective. So after menopause, what changes? I'm 5 years into menopause now. So this is, 5 years. Yeah, so it happened around the same time as the whole COVID crisis for me. And that's another thing. Many women are starting menopause earlier and having menopausal type symptoms, but it's due to the EMF. So a lot of the symptoms that you might associate with menopause, and medical doctors are wanting to kind of like give you hormones for EMF symptoms. So I'm going to post a little chart down there of checklist symptoms, but we have to try to reduce. Right now I'm on a cord technologies, reduce the wireless, especially this year with things that are planned that I'll talk about later, but don't confuse your symptoms, and trying to keep healthy by reducing your EMF, your wireless frequencies. But after menopause, belly fat becomes less about calories and again more about stress chemistry, even more, right, than before, because estrogen, when you're menstruating, buffers the stress response. So it actually helps keep cortisol spikes kind of short-lived. So it buffers the cortisol, if you will. But when the estrogen declines, it allows cortisol to rise, basically. And again, we talked about that. Then visceral belly fat is especially sensitive because of the high density of cortisol receptors that are in the belly. So it makes the abdomen, right, the preferred storage site for perceived stress. And you see many menopausal women, right, and they have little skinny arms and legs, but then they have this big belly. Now you know why. That's where the cortisol receptors are. This is where their metabolism, their body is storing energy as a protective mechanism. So many women, including myself, at this age will say, I eat the same. I'm doing more exercise. I'm fasting. Why don't my normal things work? Well, now you know, stress. So mitigating stress is the key. Now, coffee, right, can intensify this pattern or other things that stimulate stress because caffeine stimulates that stress response. So the other thing that I'm going to be doing, if you're a coffee drinker, don't have it like first thing in the morning or you're creating like a cortisol spike. At least have some food in your stomach that you can try to dilute it a little bit. But the other thing I'll do this week too is not to have any coffee and substitute it for green tea, which has many different health benefits and will also help keep the cortisol spike lower. So in a postmenopausal body, this combination, right, can quietly signal fat storage rather than fat burning, and reinforces that the abdominal weight gain, even without dietary excess. So I coach many women who eat like a bird. I mean, people look at me when I eat and they say, how can you put all that down? Like I've got a very healthy appetite. And there's women that will eat like in a day what I would eat for a snack, and they're still gaining weight. Why? Because of this, because of the stress response. And that cortisol affects other things. It's not just, it's not just the belly fat, but it also affects thyroid hormones. It affects the decrease in estrogen, unopposed cortisol, where cortisol increases, also affects collagen synthesis and increases inflammation in the tissues. So another thing that I've been noticing with myself is like a creakiness in my tendons and ligaments, and some stiffness, right, in my joints, that again, I put all these other checks and balances in place But I didn't have the gelatin. Now I do. So in menopause, you may be having more aches and pains, and it's not that your body's falling apart or degenerating, it's that your estrogen is decreased and your cortisol is increased. So this is a hack, a way that you can get your youth back, really, and stimulate fat burning instead of fat storage. So again, just to reiterate the same thing over and over again, because women, women who are a little heavier, or when you start gaining weight, you don't feel good about yourself. And then society makes you feel worse, like, oh, you must eat a lot, or you're made feel inferior, or somehow that it's a lack of willpower or something. But belly fat's not just calories or a lack of willpower, especially after menopause. It reflects the body's stress chemistry, particularly elevated cortisol, which signals the abdomen to store fat. So it's a protective response. Those hormonal shifts reduce the estrogen. And again, in that article, I talk about, the green tea, the strength training, reducing the fasting, and the gelatin trick, ways to stay calm and stay powerful. Stay calm and connect to your source power. So some things, I'll post this episode. This was a documentary called Ancient Medicine for Modern Illness. And in this episode, I'll post that picture. They give some really great information of ways to reduce stress and anxiety. Besides turning off the news, besides not listening to Mark Carney, that reminds me, the post I did was of Mark Carney suggesting that he wants to pull through a new world order. And he said it like that: slow, clear, loud. So I thought, why did he say it so clearly and so loudly? Because he wants you to stand up for yourself. Same reason why Justin Trudeau called us a fringe minority. Why did he do that? Because it's an invitation to say, no, I'm not a fringe minority. Excuse me, but I own my sovereignty. And I'm not going to put that mask on my face. I'm not going to inject your chemicals. I'm going to turn off my cell phone so you can't connect with me. I'm going to take the smart meter off my house so you can't control my house. And I'm going to invest in hard assets like silver and gold and real estate and things that the government can't control, instead of putting it in a bank and a savings account that they can. So look at it as an invitation, right? In these times, an invitation to own yourself instead of thinking that, it's something that's done against you. Look at it as this is being done for you. The new world order. Our new world order looks different from the one that Mark Carney is talking about in the post that I did earlier. So anyway, but we need ways to dissolve, reduce, modify stress. And the first part of that, I guess, is really just how you perceive something, right? Because your perception, once you think a thought, there's a cascade of different hormones that happens. And this is what Candace Perth, who wrote the book Molecules of Emotion, talks about. She was nominated actually for the Nobel Prize in the 70s for that work, that your mind and your thoughts controlled your chemistry. So even if you're taking the gelatin and you're doing all the hacks that I'll talk about in that article and show you, if your mind is feeling like you're being eaten by a tiger, Mark Carney, then you will not be able to modify and to keep yourself calm, keep your nervous system calm. So really the stress response starts in your thoughts. And that's the first thing that you have to reframe it, right? Reframe it into an invitation to sovereignty and owning yourself instead of feeling victimized by this. And again, there's some articles on silver and different tips that you can do to protect yourself in this transition. But the invisible seeds of stress and disease, ancient medicine for modern illness. So they talk about too much stress and adaptogens is the first thing. And those are things that help your body to adapt. The best adaptogen that I know about is ashwagandha. Anyone know about ashwagandha? Anyone here? Heather says, thank you for so much for this. Had stubborn belly fat for a long time, trying to wean off the coffee. I eat well. and exercise, keep my stress level, my sleeping. Yeah. So with the coffee, Heather, green tea has a little bit of caffeine in it, and the other thing about coffee is often what you put in it, right? Coffee has high mold. Let me see if I can give you some more things to stack up to help you with that switch. But coffee is probably one of the most sprayed foods, right? Chemicals that are sprayed. It's also acidic to your body, so it breaks down. It's acidic going in, but it also breaks down, metabolizes to acidic products. And people put things in coffee, like cream and dairy that also has hormones and chemicals, or sugar, or that sort of thing. So it, for many different reasons, it's a good idea. Coffee creates like a stiffness in your tissues because of the breakdown acidic products. So avoiding coffee and switching it out for green tea, I think will be good. But ashwagandha, so this is ashwagandha I take. I also have herbs in tincture form from Dr. Cheryl Lysette, Green Umbrella Medicinals. And for those of you who are local, actually they ship around the world, but for those of you who are local in this transition right now, it's good to have somebody that grows their own herbs where you can get them fresh and you know the quality. If you can't order on Amazon, for example, it's good to network and to make sure we have local community. And Dr. Cheryl Lysette has been helpful for me and my family, and I really love her stuff. And she makes combinations, calming combinations, including the ashwagandha, which is like the king. They call it the king herb in Ayurvedic medicine because it's good for so many things. But I just take a spoonful in my shake in the morning. And there's nervines. This is another classification, I guess, of chemicals that help calm your nervous system. And they would be things like, chamomile, skullcap, kava kava, those type of things. So at night I take, because I'm high energy, as you can see, extra sleepy time tea that has chamomile in it. It has also lemongrass, hawthorn, valerian root, and that helps calm your nervous system. Also, herbs for sleep. So California poppy, hops, valerian, and again, Dr. Cheryl also has a sleep tincture with a lot of these herbs that are organic. Many of the herbs she makes herself in that. So again, Green Umbrella Medicinals, I'll tag them in this video. So if you have questions, Dr. Cheryl Lysette was one of the first naturopaths in Nova Scotia 35 years ago. So I was like one of the first chiropractors in Halifax, and she was like the first outside of Lois Hare, which was up in the valley. So we networked a lot, and we've been networking a lot for 30 years. She's somebody who I love and trust, and she surrendered her license, as did I, because we really couldn't move within those regulations that the government was requiring. So she's somebody who's near and dear to my heart, Dr. Cheryl Lysette. And other super herbs. So again, I'm not a herbologist. Cheryl is a naturopath, and like I said, Brian, who also is part of Green Umbrella Medicinals, helped found the Organic Growers Association of Nova Scotia, 45 years ago. So they're good people, and I just want to put a plug in because some of these products, if you can't get them or can't source them, you may need a private consult. There may be some things. You could be allergic to lemon balm. You may not want to have Kotu Cola. Bladder rack is the best way for iodine for me. But everybody is different, and having somebody who has some experience do a consult for you. I'm also available for that. So if you want to have a private consult, I'd be happy to do that. The green tea that I have, I buy green tea, in herbs, and I just put it in my teapot and steep it that way. It's healthier than the bags. But if I'm out somewhere or I'm needing something quick, I also have, jasmine green tea and other green tea. I take tissue salts, and again, I do astrology, as you know, wellnessastrologer.com. So depending on your astrology chart, certain tissue salts might be helpful. I take borax, and just recently started taking it in a homeopathic remedy for different things. Essential oils are so important. So I take essential oils at night to, oh my gosh, help calm and relax. Oh, I can feel that right away because there's only one synapse between the olfactory receptors in your nose and in your brain. So the scent and smell is very, very powerful for changing your mentality. So essential oils are another way that you can calm yourself. So I'm serious about this whole week thing. I'm about to close. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to put them in. Thank you for those who are here. But I don't have fat calipers, so I had to use tongs instead. But I did take my body fat measurement because I don't have a scale working right now. But so if you wanted to do this with me, if you want to join the experiment, I have my family are joining the experiment, but you can take a measurement today and just above your hip or your crest, which is the iliac crest, this is where I took my first measurement. So come right up and then just kind of pinch the fat and hold the caliper like there, right? So that was about an inch and I measured it. It's about an inch on my tape, and then do the same thing right above the crest, come right over to your umbilicus, and right next to your umbilicus and right over the iliac crest, you can pinch and take another measurement. So this one for me was about an inch and a half. So I'm going to see over the week of doing these changes, for me just simple changes like no coffee at all, only green tea, and doing the gelatin, as I mentioned in the article, a teaspoon before my meal, 10 minutes before the meal, and we'll see what happens. So any questions or other comments before I sign out? Thank you, Ruth and Susan. Maca, thank you. Maca is another adaptogen. Thank you for saying that. Great also for women and for hormones. And Ruth is suggesting a replacement for coffee. Hickory root is also great. The other thing I really like is roasted dandelion root, and you can buy it in a tea bag, roasted dandelion. It's also helpful for spike protein and has many different health benefits. But yeah, I'm just suggesting some of the things. There's many, many things out there, and feel free to put in what's worked for you, or if you have something that you'd like to share with other people. So Heather is saying she took ashwagandha in supplements, and Ruth is giving Inca as a grain beverage, coated, roasted with barley or roasted rye. So again, depending on if you have any sensitivities to gluten or to different things, right? There's different strokes for different folks, different supplements and different herbs for your particular situation. So that's why I think oftentimes, like a general recommendation like the gelatin, I don't think is too harmful. But if you want specifics or you're having some health challenges, you may need a holistic health provider to guide you through that. So somebody had suggested to me the other day, just trying to think of who that was, but I know it was a person that it was a lady, and she had an acute attack of diverticulitis, and she was in the hospital over Christmas, she told me, and she said, I said to him, what kind of foods are you eating? And she said, well, they didn't tell me about any foods. I don't know. She said, they told me to go to the internet and look at foods. But the fact is medical doctors are trained to prescribe medications. So their education is only medications. And now we know many of the medications, including the synthetic hormones like estrogen and the weight loss medications, not only are they having a lot of side effects, but they also have nanotech in them. So I have friends who say, I'd never get the shot, but they'll take medication, with the nanotech in it. It's kind of crazy, but anyway, I don't know how I got talking about that, but so there's many different solutions for you. Find what works, find your tribe. Women, stay calm. Men, get more aggressive, speak your truth. And if there's any way I can help you, wellnessastrologer.com is my website for astrology. And you can also connect with me by email, dr.denagc@gmail.com. I'll connect my healthtruth.blog. You can connect with me that way. The article about this, belly fat, and also the article on silver, which is on the Substack. So any of those places, feel free to connect with me. The picture that I posted on the article is by a Spanish artist, and it's called La Tres Gracias. There's three ladies from the 1600s. And this is on my bathroom wall. So it's to remind me that our women's bodies are beautiful. They're beautiful with the curves. They're beautiful with a little bit of, with some love handles. So it's part of me doing this is to help you love yourself. After that video that I did where my fat was shaking, I had a friend say, well, why don't you just cover it up? Why don't you just wear a t-shirt? And I said, well, that's kind of defeating the purpose. I either have to love all my curves or else I have to change something about my body, right? Sitting in pain and covering it up is like putting a Band-Aid over a festering wound. You have to kind of dig into it. So this is really just to allow women to love their bodies and to step into your true power, which is protecting, right, our next generation. Allow the men, right? Maybe they need a little kick in the bum to get out there and to help you. But women need to calm ourselves. And I'm speaking that for myself too. I need to be more calm and more thoughtful in my approach. So as I'm speaking to you, I know this is what I need for myself too. So thank you all for being here. Have a look down at the page because there's some important things happening this year. I did some astrology projections, financial projections, did a video. There's all sorts of things that I think are being screened, but would be helpful and useful for you to see. Know that everything that's happening right now and things that'll happen this year is really for you. It's giving you an opportunity to step up into your sovereignty. And for women, keeping us calm is part of that power. Owning your love and your wisdom and your power. So go out there today, reach for the stars, envision and achieve your personal best. And most of all, enjoy the journey. This is Dr. Dina signing out.